Hello, and welcome, fans of Magic: The Gathering. I'm ZJ Javara, and in today's video, I will talk about one of my favorite kitchen table formats, Repack Chaos Draft. Four friends and I recently got together to play Magic: The Gathering, and here is how it went. At each point during the draft, we opened 20 card packs that I had made myself from boxes of bulk and other cards I had lying around. These packs contain cards from a variety of sets from across Magic's history, which at this point adds up to a crazy number of cards. Comment below if you know how many full sets have been released by Wizards of the Coast, or maybe tell us what your favorite sets of all time are. The oldest card I remember seeing in the draft was Illumination from Mirage. There were also cards from a recent set, Lorwyn Eclipsed. And if you'd like to know exactly how I make the packs, I have a video explaining it on the channel. While drafting, we picked 2 cards before passing the rest of a pack to the next person. It makes it go faster, and players are a little more likely to get more of the cards they want. As for me, I ended up with a good amount of blue and white. These are the cards that made it into my deck. Mana fixing wasn't scarce either, and I chose to add 1 Cryptic Spires. Then, when looking at the mana curve and the number of creatures versus non-creature spells, I was incredibly happy with how the draft went. I had a total of 10 evasive creatures, 1 unblockable Phantom Ninja, and 9 creatures with flying. The Lurker Bat in particular was such a great card to have in my opening hand. For my top end, I had 2 amazing flyers, Djinn of Fool's Fall and Basilica Shepherd. Then I had 3 ways of augmenting my team. Goldvein Pick was a great pickup during the draft that sometimes allowed me to play an even bigger threat 1 turn early with the help of a treasure token. The counters from the Ironpaw Aspirant and Relief Captain also made my tiny flyers more of a threat, putting my opponents on a faster clock when they didn't have ways to deal with them. Eidolon of Inspiration put in so much work during my matches, buffing a flyer every single combat, and in almost every game it was a magnet for removal. Fortunately, I also had a decent amount of token generation, which made it possible for me to go wide and block threats on the ground while attacking from above. Having an Ambush Trooper and Wrath Weatherlight Stalwart in my deck was awesome. In 1 or more games, they ended up being excellent ways of going for a big finish by pumping the whole team. For interaction, I had some reliable spells that did what blue and white do best. I was able to tap and stun enemy creatures, and with Crashing Tide, I could time walk my opponent for tempo by returning a relevant creature back to their hand. The fact that Ninja's Kunai could deal its damage to any target meant it could function as not only removal, but as a last resort that kills my opponent if they ever stabilize the board while being low on life. Dimir Guildmage provided me with repeatable card draw. Just 1 or 2 successful activations could make all the difference in a war of attrition. And transforming the Skyclave Aerialist into the Skyclave Invader was also a nice way of upgrading my early advantage in the skies while getting to draw a card or help with my mana when I didn't have that very important 5th land drop. Next, we can look at what each of my friends drafted. They ended up with decks from the following guilds: Selesnya, Rakdos, Gruul, and Dimir Splash Red. Here's a quick look at the cards that were played in the green-white deck. Its primary focus was putting counters on its creatures in order to make them more menacing. One card in particular that I enjoyed seeing at the table was this Loyal Sentry, being pseudo Death Touch and on a white card. Here are the cards that made it into the black-red deck, played by a longtime friend of mine. The creature cards almost always gave him a strong start, having First Strike, Haste, or Bloodthirst. His removal was also premium and made sure he could maintain the offensive or deal with big threats immediately. I also really liked the two-handed axe in his deck. However, he wasn't able to cast Sweeping Cleave for the win, and he never got to equip it either. So sad. While making this video, I realized just how much potential a skeleton archer has in a draft environment like this. There were so many good targets for that 1 damage and its enter the battlefield effect. Have a look at the cards that made it into the red-green deck. To no one's surprise, the main strategy of the deck was to summon big creatures and to send them into battle fearlessly. There was so much glee at the table when Rogue's Passage made the Emperor Crocodile unblockable. She had ways to make her creatures even bigger, indestructible, or flying. I especially liked the subset of themes like Evolve, Death Touch, and Spiders, flavorful and cool for Gruul. Here are the cards that made it into the Dimir Splash Red deck. This friend of mine enjoys the spell qualities of blue and would normally favor green or white as a secondary color, but she wanted to challenge herself to do the opposite and chose to draft black with it. We talked after the draft, and she especially liked having Tetsuko Umizawa in the deck for making other creatures on the team unblockable. I'll admit, I was a little jealous of these 2 cards, as they would have been amazing to have in my Azorius deck. I thought Cinder Elemental was an interesting splash, but it definitely had side quest potential and could have been that delayed fireball that ends a match in a big bang. We had an absolute blast doing this repack draft, with many more to come. I hope that after today, you will feel inspired to have repack drafts of your own, as it's not only a great way to save money, but also gives those forgotten cards a chance to shine again. If you like the idea of Repack Chaos Draft and you enjoyed today's video, please consider giving it a like, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with others. I'm ZJ Shavara. Thank you so much for watching.